Ms. Stroh, one of our college counselors, and Ms. Moody, our other college counselors. They are amazing. They help pave the way for your children's success post-high school, and their insights and wisdom are invaluable. So you definitely want to take advantage of their services that they can help you along the way when you get to that point. So we have these wonderful alumni from BHS. I am also a BHS alumni, quite a bit older than that. 45 years ago for me, so I graduated from Barrington 45 years ago. So I feel honored to be with this group of recent graduates. So we're going to start off with a few questions, and then you were given a notepad and a pencil. So if you have questions you would like to ask them, just write those down, and then our PTO reps and our college counselors will gather those, and we'll answer those for you as well. So each of the panelists are going to start off with their name, the college they are either currently in or graduated from, the location of that college, and their area of study, and if they are a graduate, what they are currently doing now. So we'll start off with Molly.
Hi, my name is Molly Connors. I'm management at the University of Minnesota up in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Hi, my name is Annie Connors. I am a freshman television, radio, and film major and political science major at Syracuse University in Syracuse, New York.
Christina?
Hi, my name is Christina Copatino. I'm currently a freshman at Harvard in Palestine, Illinois, and I'm currently majoring in kinesiology.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Leah Bernardi. I'm a first year at UCLA at the University of California, Los Angeles. I'm a first year and I'm a pre-quality soccer major.
Yippee.
Hi, I'm Mia Priola. I am a freshman at the University of Wyoming in Laramie, Wyoming, and studying psychology.
Louise?
Hello, my name is Louise Martinez. I graduated from Elgin Community College in 2012 with an associate's in the automotive technology program. Right now I currently work at a family auto repair shop in Elgin, Illinois.
Sophie?
Hi everyone, my name is Sophie Felchin. I'm a junior at Boston College in Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm majoring in international studies and minoring in French and German.
Hi, my name is Eve Pelchin, and I'm a junior at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, and I'm majoring in political science and French studies and minoring in history.
So as these alumni are answering questions for you, think about your path, and that there are many, many pathways to success, as you'll see all their different pathways to success. They're unique just as you are. So, and again, all the panelists won't answer all the questions, so if you'd like to answer the question, just raise your hand so we can have you answer. The first question we'd like to ask, which is many students think about this, how do they choose their college? So why did you choose the college you decided to attend? What was the tipping point for you that made you know it was a right fit for you? So just raise your hand if you'd like to answer that question. Yes, Alyssa.
Okay, so I actually will say that Bradley was one of the schools that I applied to, and I had heard about it because someone on my water polo team a year older had applied and decided to go there. And initially it was in the back of my mind, you know, I got in, wasn't really thinking about it a ton, and then once I went and visited, I hate to say I had the stereotypical like butterflies, you know, that this is kind of where you want to spend the rest of, you know, your college, or where you want to spend the rest of your college career, but I visited twice and it definitely solidified that the community on campus was what I was looking for the next 4 years.
Molly.
So I knew that I wanted like a big school kind of thing, and both my parents went to Big Ten schools, and two of my sisters actually went to Minnesota, so I grew up with that kind of thing. And so when it came time to like looking, I looked at a bunch of different Big Ten schools, but I think touring helped a lot, and also like considering my major, Minnesota had like the best program for me. So once I found the good mix of like the big football, which I wanted, and like hockey and school spirit, and then also on top of my major, like, it was really easy to know that, like, Minnesota was probably the best choice for me, and it worked out.
Mia B.
I'll say that I chose UCLA mostly because it looked logistically like the best fit for me, and I just kind of went through what I wanted in the school. I wanted to go to a big school. I wanted to go to a school that had a good program for my major. I wanted to go to a school that was far away, and it just seemed like it checked most of the boxes that I wanted. And so I decided to go there, and I sort of decided before I even went and visited just because of COVID complications, but I think that what I saw kind of matched my initial thought process, so yeah.
Peyton.
I'm pursuing my master's in accounting at Western Illinois University.
Louise.
Hello, my name is Louise Martinez. I graduated from Elgin Community College in 2012 with an associate's in the automotive technology program. Right now I currently work at a family auto repair shop in Elgin, Illinois.
Sophia. Sophie.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophie Felchin. I'm a junior at Boston College in Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm majoring in international studies and minoring in French and German.
Hi, my name is Eve Pelchin, and I'm a junior at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, and I'm majoring in political science and French studies and minoring in history.
So as these alumni are answering questions for you, think about your path and that there are many, many pathways to success, as you'll see all their different pathways to success. They're unique just as you are. So, and again, all the panelists won't answer all the questions, so if you'd like to answer the question, just raise your hand so we can have you answer. The first question we'd like to ask, which is many students think about this, how do they choose their college? So why did you choose the college you decided to attend? What was the tipping point for you that made you know it was a right fit for you? So just raise your hand if you'd like to answer that question. Yes, Alyssa.
Okay, so I actually will say that Bradley was one of the schools that I applied to, and I had heard about it because someone on my water polo team a year older had applied and decided to go there. And initially it was in the back of my mind, you know, I got in, wasn't really thinking about it a ton, and then once I went and visited, I hate to say I had the stereotypical like butterflies, you know, that this is kind of where you want to spend the rest of, you know, your college, or where you want to spend the rest of your college career, but I visited twice and it definitely solidified that the community on campus was what I was looking for the next 4 years.
Molly.
So I knew that I wanted like a big school kind of thing, and both my parents went to Big Ten schools, and two of my sisters actually went to Minnesota, so I grew up with that kind of thing. And so when it came time to like looking, I looked at a bunch of different Big Ten schools, but I think touring helped a lot, and also like considering my major, Minnesota had like the best program for me. So once I found a good mix of like the big football, which I wanted, and like hockey and school spirit, and then also on top of my major, like it was really easy to know that like Minnesota was probably the best choice for me, and it worked out.
Mia B.
I'll say that I chose UCLA mostly because it looked logistically like the best fit for me, and I just kind of went through what I wanted in the school. I wanted to go to a big school. I wanted to go to a school that had a good program for my major. I wanted to go to a school that was far away, and it just seemed like it checked most of the boxes that I wanted. And so I decided to go there, and I sort of decided before I even went and visited just because of COVID complications, but I think that what I saw kind of matched my initial thought process, so yeah.
Peyton.
There we go. I chose Western Illinois because they had a good accounting program, as well as being well known for their law enforcement opportunities. And I wanted to use that prestige to make sure that I can try to get into a federal law enforcement agency with a degree in accounting. So I kind of used all the resources I had to make sure that I can pursue my dreams and try to land where I want to go.
Anyone else have a question? Christina?
So I chose Harvard because I was unsure of my major and what I wanted to pursue in the future, and I thought it was a great opportunity to save money and like figure out what I want to do and not feel like I'm lost and I'm in a place that I don't fit in. And I'm able to like work full time and also go to school, so it was a great fit if you're really indecisive or you don't know. So it was like a good fit for me.
We'll also provide, because I not only have a counseling hat, I have a parent hat, because my 3 daughters also graduated from Barrington. And as they've explained how they made their choices, there's tipping points that are your priorities. Mia said the school checked her boxes. Those boxes are different for each person. So my one child chose her school because she wanted the Big Ten, because she wanted the sports experience. And it had the program she wanted, but that was her tipping point. My other daughter wasn't necessarily fully in love with the school, but they had the program piece that was very important to her, her major. My other daughter wanted a very urban setting. She wanted to be in a big city. She didn't necessarily want to be on a traditional college campus. So there's no wrong choice, just as they made their choices for their tipping points that checked their boxes. Those are the things you want to be self-aware about. What is important to you? What are the pieces that are your things that you want for your post-high school experience? Next question would be, many students want to take AP classes at Barrington High School, and we have wonderful AP classes. As counselors, we always suggest take an AP class, not just because it has an AP label, but because you're interested in that content area and ready for that rigor. So if you took AP classes at Barrington, would you say the workload is comparable at college? Do you feel you were well prepared? Is the AP classes at Barrington harder than what you experienced in college? So if you took those, how would you answer that question? Annie?
I would say honestly that the classes at college are probably easier than AP classes were here. I guess you could say that like the classes here prepare you really well for the classes there, because I went into college thinking that I would just be like bombarded with all this work and I would be really overwhelmed. But it was just very standard or less, and like the professors at college are a lot more chill. I don't know. They're more chill with like deadlines and stuff, but that never really was a problem for like me or my peers that took AP classes, because you're so drilled to like do deadlines here. So I think the classes here prepare you really well for the classes in college.
Thank you, Amy. Abby?
I actually found quite the opposite. I thought that my first quarter classes, I was only taking 14 credit hours, and with the way that UCLA does credit hours, they say that 1 credit hour is worth 3 hours during the week. So if you're taking 14 credit hours, you should be working in those classes 42 hours a week. And I just think that even though the distribution, if you're not attending classes as many times a day as you are in high school, and that can really get to you, because they'll assign, at least in my experience, I got assigned a lot of work on one day, and then you're just kind of expected to set the pace for yourself. Whereas AP classes here were very structured, and it was like a day-by-day breakdown, and if you didn't get one thing done within whatever time span they gave you, then it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I messed this up, but there's a next checkpoint. And I found that without those checkpoints, it's a lot harder to kind of gauge how well you're doing in your classes. And on top of that, I think that I've had actually more strict deadlines in college than I have in high school. And it's really like zero tolerance, at least in my experience. So you have to make sure that you're staying on top of the work without the structure that you get, which has been something that's challenging. But overall, I'd say that if you're worried about being ready for college classes, AP classes.
And to follow quickly, and I know somebody, FD wants to answer. When Mia, you're saying you were had 14 hours, you're in class 14 hours a week.
No.
how many hours literally are you in class? So in class with the professor during the week?
In class for approximately 3.5 hours.
A week?
A week. Yeah, but then there's an expected like 6 hours of work outside of class.
So typically, so that's kind of unusual. So typically if a student's in college, and they say, oh, I'm in college 12 or 14 hours or 15 hours of classes, that's the amount of hours you're in class a week. Compare that to your 30 hours of class at Barrington. So in college, as Mia's saying, the expectation is you're getting that work done independently outside of class. So paving the way for that experience in high school, getting used to doing that, is a great way to prepare yourself for college. And Eve, did you want to also answer that question?
Yeah, I was going to say that at my school, I would say the professors, especially in my major for political science, are as strict or stricter than the AP professors. Lots of reading and sometimes really harsh criticism on your writing, so like be prepared for that. But I would say, as general words of advice, if you're able to do AP classes, I definitely would, because my school is a liberal arts institution, so we have lots of different categories that you have to fulfill. And if you have AP credits, my school takes all of your AP credits and converts them over to the classes you're to take for liberal arts. So for example, since I got a 4 on the Calc AP test, I didn't have to take a math class in college, and that makes it easier for me to double major and have a few minors. So I would definitely recommend doing AP classes and taking the AP test, because it can be really helpful later on, even though it might be harder right now.
Anyone else want to address the AP question? Molly?
It's just like kind of incorporating what everyone has said. I think AP classes in high school felt really hard, but even comparing it to like my friends from high school that I talk to still, and also like comparing it to people I go to college with, Barrington prepares you like really, really well for the transition academically. And I felt for myself that I wasn't really struggling, but people that aren't from Illinois, didn't go to Barrington, were having a harder time. And I was like, really, like I feel like my high school is kind of like this. So like I feel like the academic transition was they did a really good job.
Awesome. Just a reminder to the audience, if you have a question that you've written on your piece of paper, please raise that up, and one of the PTO reps or our college council will get that. Next question would be, when you chose your major, when did you have to officially declare that? Did any of you change your major? And how, if you did change it, how did that complicate anything? So choosing your major, declaring that. Peyton?
All right, so when choosing your major, you usually declare it when you have a requisite amount of hours that you've already completed. So at my school, you needed, let's say, for example, like 40 credit hours before you could declare a business or finance major as your bachelor's degree major. At other schools, it may be different, but usually you need just a couple hours under your belt before you can actually declare anything. You usually talk to your advisor, who is usually in the college of like business or finance or sociology or something, and they'll usually guide you through the process of how to do it, but it's usually personalized to the individual.
Sophie?
So at my school, I applied to, I'm in a smaller program that only has about 100 students. So I applied to it my freshman year and started classes in my major sophomore year. At Boston College, mostly you will apply to your major like within your application senior year. I actually liked that I couldn't start my classes until sophomore year because I was able to focus on the liberal arts requirements and get those out of the way. But I would say if you are selecting a college and you had to apply to the major once you get there, I would have a backup plan and other similar majors that you would be happy with in case it doesn't work out. So, for example, political science and history were close to the international studies program, so that if that didn't work out, I had a plan.
Mia P?
For most of the schools that I applied to, I had to type in a major as I was doing the application process, which really stressed me out as a senior in high school, trying to pick what I was going to do for the next 4 years. and I haven't yet changed my major, not to say I won't, but I know lots of people at my school who have changed their major, and it's not difficult, so I would say don't let that part stress you out. Just choose something, and you can change it if you need to.
Sophie?
I also would add something that if you're unsure what you want to major in, I think that the liberal arts college has a lot of benefits because you're exposed to a lot of different disciplines and areas of study. So you might go in thinking, oh, I want to be an engineering major, but then take a philosophy class or a math class, and I think that that's something really valuable. So I would advise that.
Awesome, and I'm going to address this question to Louise because college is a great pathway. In today's world, the trades are in huge demand, and there's a huge shortage of experienced people in the trades. So Louise, how did you decide that was what you wanted to do and your pathway with you attended Elgin, correct?
I attended Elgin Community College. Yeah. Well, a little bit of a background story for me. My grandpa and my dad, they were both into the automotive industry. So, at 10, 11 years old, I was already kind of working on cars without knowing that eventually I was going to have a passion for that. A couple years down the road, when I graduated high school, I thought I knew everything about cars. I was already working on them. But my dad actually encouraged me. He said, you know what, just go to college, get a degree, get something, just because you feel or you think you know it, doesn't mean everything. So I asked questions, I looked around, and I was able to go to Elgin Community College to do the automotive program, and honestly, it changed my life. The first day I learned a lot of things that I thought I knew, and every day was consistently learning about the trade. And I'm still going to courses, classes. I love the program. I love the automotive industry. It's definitely very interesting, especially with the technology put into vehicles. There's definitely a lot to learn, a lot to fix. And it just slowly became almost like natural getting on the trade.
Perfect. So there's a couple of questions from the audience, and I'm going to have all of you answer this with a show of hands. Because quite often sophomores, juniors, and seniors think they need to know what they want to major in high school at that point, even their junior year. So raise your hand if you knew, if you can remember back then, in your junior year of high school, raise your hand if you knew what you want to major in, and that's your major now. So not everybody knew. Did you have a strong idea in college of what you might want to major in? I mean in high school. Did you have a strong idea in high school what you might want to do? So, not necessarily. So you don't have to feel that pressure. So did any of you go into college undecided on your major? You declared a major. And did anybody change yet? So Annie, could you address that changing your major? What was your original major and what did you change it to?
So my original major, I kept political science all the way through since I'm a double major, but my original other major was magazine, news, and digital journalism. And then one of our required first year classes, I just met a lot of people who were in my new major, which is television, radio, and film, and I was picking out extracurriculars, and none of the extracurriculars I was interested in were applied to my original major, and they applied to this new major. And I was like, if I want to spend my time outside of class doing this, I might as well do this in class too, and actually pursue something that I'm interested in. So I ended up switching, which was really easy to switch.
Awesome. Anybody else want to address that? We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about dorm life. So, if you live in a dorm, kind of address what are the parties like, what's the food like, what if you don't like your roommate, Annie?
I would say the food is pretty, like, exactly what you would expect. Like, it's no, like, Gordon Ramsay, but, like, it's not bad. Like, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And they have a lot of options, especially because we have dining halls connected to most of our dorms, and my dining hall that's connected to my, like, complex is the smallest, but everything's pretty good. And then if you don't like your roommate, the RAs are very, like, accommodating to that, or you can just, like, talk to them yourself. It's really no biggie.
Anybody not know what an RA is? Raise your hand, it's okay. An RA, who wants to explain what an RA is?
It's just like a residential advisor. Just like, it's like this student who lives on your floor who's usually older than you, and they just, like, help you deal with your problems. They're like a therapist, kind of.
Mia, what kind of experience have you had with your RA? Mia B.
I don't have much experience with my RAs, but I don't really talk to them, so I guess that's kind of my fault. I think my dorm experience has been a little bit unique. I live in a suite. I live in a triple room that's attached to another triple room by a bathroom, but we all basically live together, so I have like 5 roommates. And I'll say that it's incredibly chaotic, but I honestly wouldn't have it any other way, just because I'm someone who, like, if I'm not constantly surrounded by people by force, then I won't go out and seek that, but it's something that I need. And you have to, like, I'm used to not having personal space, but it's really something that a lot of people struggle with, and it's really easy to get frustrated. But yeah, RAs are super helpful, not that I would really know firsthand, but I've had a lot of friends who dealt with their problems by talking to their RA. I'll say that the food at UCLA is, like, through the roof good. It's got a really good dining hall program, and I never go hungry. I just use all my swipes always. It's so good. But that's not something you can expect. This is, like, the high end of the spectrum, so expect, like, the middle level. Yeah.
Thank you, Mia. Any other roommate issues? Melissa? Or dorm stuff?
Yeah, so going down to Peoria, Bradley had a unique kind of network setup where there was a website where you could, like, log in, and all potential freshmen that were looking for roommates were listed on the website, and you could just, you know, after reading, you filled out a little bit of information about yourself, and then you could just, it was almost like a dating profile, like you could speed date roommates at that point. I had one girl ghost me at some point, and then when I found my potential roommate, she actually was from Mount Prospect. So we met mutually, and then she, like, her and I met once or twice, and we were like, okay, cool, roommates, good. You know, we weren't the best of friends, but we had definitely similar interests, and I knew that it wouldn't be a bad thing. Fast forwarding down to school, her boyfriend ended up going to the same school as she did, coincidentally. But I will say I had a roommate, but I didn't have a roommate because she was never there. So it was really nice because I had my whole room to myself. I've been pointed out that at least the boyfriend was not in our room 24/7. But so talking to that point, just set your boundaries, know what your boundaries are with that, and have that conversation early on with your roommates. I would say don't expect that you and your roommates are going to be the best of friends 100%. You might have, her and I could have conversations and, you know, again, had similar interests, but she was never there. I actually got very lucky that I met a group of amazing girls on my floor that lived with me, and I carry those friendships still to this day. Speaking to the RA piece, I actually went to my RA's wedding this past summer. So they're there to help, let me tell you, and you never know if you're going to go to their wedding or not.
There you go. Anybody else want to visit? Peyton and then Sophie.
So, with your roommates, just try to show them respect and try to do the golden rule, you know, treat others the way you want to be treated, but don't be afraid to talk to them if you have an issue with them. Like, my roommate would bring his girlfriend to our dorm all the time, and I was fine with that, and, you know, I set some boundaries with them, like, look, you gotta tell me when this stuff is happening so I can, you know, not make a complete ass of myself. And it usually works about 99% of the time, unless what you're asking is unreasonable. And try to connect with other people on your floor. Like, I found out one of my floor mates my freshman year, he just had a kid. Yeah, he's 21 and he already had a kid. And you're gonna have those great experiences. And like, I still love the guy and we're still the best of friends.
Healthy?
I just wanted to reiterate what Alyssa said, that you don't have to feel beholden to being best friends with your roommates. And just remember that when you're a freshman, everyone is new and no one knows each other and everyone's looking for friends. So it's really easy just to knock on someone's door that's on your floor or talk to the person that's next to you in class. So I would just wanted to reiterate that don't feel down if you don't end up being best friends with your roommate.
Maybe.
So I guess starting from last summer, I've actually had 3 roommates over the semester. And some of those have been okay and some have not. So advice would be flexible. And also there's this thing called roommate agreements that I did not know about. But you should ask your RAs if they don't come to you with a roommate agreement because those are helpful.
I always thought that was in the Big Bang Theory, having a roommate agreement. Okay, nobody watched the Big Bang. Sheldon has a roommate agreement. Sorry, I digress. Molly?
I would say I have a very typical freshman dorm experience. I have one roommate and we have female bathrooms kind of thing. I happen to be really good friends with my roommate, which I love because it's fun to live with someone you like, but it's inevitable that when you live in close quarters with someone, you're both gonna get under each other's skin. And everyone's been saying, it's really important that you're mature about it, and if there is something that's bothering you to go up and just be like, oh hi, could we fix this? And most likely they're gonna be yeah, because they don't want tension or anything either. And then bathroom situations, I have communal bathrooms. I think people always worried about that. Mine's totally fine. I do live in a newer building, so it's kind of hotelish inside. But even some of the older buildings at my school are not good either. And dorm life overall, it is what you make of it. It can be totally fine, and as long as you set boundaries for yourself and expectations with your roommate, you can have a good time. Because it's nice because your food's usually easy to get to. You don't have to cook for yourself. It's just all ready. So it's a good place to be when you're transitioning into college.
So I'm going to step back to when you were in high school. So a few of these questions are about when you were in high school and different things you did and resources you utilized. So in high school, what resources did you use, whether it was something like Naviance or online research for your college counselors or your regular counselor to help you decide what did you use in college that helped you with your college process? What did you use in high school at Barrington? What did you find helpful? Hopefully it was something. Annie?
Naviance, that's the one where you put in the colleges and yeah, I use that a lot. I like to have the little list of potential colleges, and I honestly like to just sleuth on it and find new little schools to add. I had a little brief hiatus from it, but then once it came to deciding, I used it a lot because it had a lot of the less personal details, but stuff that was still important. And it also helped because it has that little acceptance calculator, which I liked because even though obviously they're not just focusing on stats, it's a nice idea that it gives you. So I use that a lot.
Absolutely.
Definitely the counselors are very helpful. If you, everybody has those meetings, but if you're prepared for those meetings and you talk with your parents ahead of time and you have information and questions to ask and information to share during those meetings, they are much more beneficial for you.
Louise?
For me, talking to the counselors and going to the resource center was very helpful, especially for applying for a scholarship. They were able to guide me through the process. I I was able to apply 2 different scholarships, and I actually received 1 scholarship, and they were able to renew it, which allowed me to continue school. Same thing with the consular. I wanted to graduate early. Same thing. They talked to me. They told me what I needed to do, which classes, and I was able to graduate as a union as well.
Beautiful. Alyssa?
I will say one unique thing other than the counselors that I did. Obviously, I'm a math teacher, so I actually was a math TA my senior year here. And my senior year, first semester, I was in an Algebra 1 class, and then second semester, I was in an Algebra 2 class, and I was there to help the teacher, help the students with anything, that was needed for that day. So it's definitely a unique experience, considering I knew I, at that point, wanted to go into teaching, and I used my experience in the TA program to solidify that when I went to college, I did want to become a math teacher, and that's what I wanted to eventually do as my career, and here I am now.
So you were a TA at Barrington, a math
Yes.
teaching assistant at Barrington, so that actually segues great to my next question. So when you were in high school, was there any co-curricular activity, like being a math TA, that helped you know you wanted to be a math teacher? Any co-curricular activity that helped you get into college, or helped you lead towards your college choice, or was it an experience that just enhanced your high school experience but didn't impact college? So any experiences you had in high school, co-curricular, that helped pave the way for your college experience? Hayden?
When I was in high school, I started taking some accounting courses as well as a couple business classes, and I gotta say that gave me a greater appreciation for the world of business and finance. So that kind of paved the way for me for my school of choice.
Yeah, Steve?
This isn't so much a co-curricular. I took a lot of electives at BHS. I think I took, I want to say at least one every semester. And initially, like my freshman year, I thought I wanted to do architecture, but then I did a CAD class, which is like an architecture and design software, and I realized that I didn't like it at all. So I think that especially if you're lost, as far as what you want to do, look into electives that you can take at the high school, especially with like the intro to healthcare and a lot of the arts electives. It's a really good opportunity to just kind of put your toes in the water and feel it out a little bit. But yeah, shout out to Ms. Plum with Fashion Electives. That was like my safe place at Barrington High School. So.
And Mia makes a good point, and we'll then go to Mia P, who wanted to answer as well. Mia took an elective at Barrington and found out it wasn't really what she wanted to do. Finding out what you don't want to do really helps also weed out certain majors. So that's a great opportunity to understand that. So not a lot of high schools have the depth and breadth of elective classes, the fine and applied arts that Barrington has, so we really want to take advantage of those. And Mia P, did you want to answer that?
Well, similar to the electives, I took a lot of dual credit courses and mostly medical classes through Harper, but here, and that they were more focused on nursing, but those classes like helped me to learn about other medical fields besides nursing that just briefly they skimmed over, and that I decided maybe I should go back and look further into that. So yeah, just take other classes besides the required courses.
Is there any class that you wish you had taken at Barrington that you didn't take? So you felt well prepared. Awesome. Another question, if any of you started out at a community college and then transferred to another school, is that recommended? So just to give you some personal insight, so I'm a Barrington graduate 45 years ago. I went to Harper from Barrington and then transitioned to a 4-year school. Saved a lot of money. My stepdaughter, who has an amazing job in marketing in Chicago, started out at Harper, then continued at her junior and senior year at Illinois State. Had super opportunities and is very successful in her major as a marketing, and has her own apartment in the city, so not living in our basement, which is great. And so anybody have that experience? I know Louise, you went to Elgin. How did that help you financially, and if anybody else started at a community college?
How did it help the clarity?
Like financially and making that choice?
Starting definitely in the community college, it helped me because there was another program to go to another school called Lincoln Tech to do the automotive program. And when comparing the cost of it, or even another institution called UTI, I believe so, they had, the program was just way more expensive. And there at the Elgin Community College, I met people that tried those programs, and they didn't like it because they ran too quick. It just felt like every day they were trying to push information, and plus they were paying a whole lot for it. So doing the community college, they really liked it too.
Awesome. Yes, Christina?
So I'm a freshman at Harvard, like I said before, and I do plan on transferring after I get my associates, but when I first decided to go to Harvard, I realized there was like a lot of stigma around it. A lot of people were like, that should be your last option. That should be something that you want to do initially. But for me, it was probably like the best decision I made because I was able to figure out what I wanted to do and didn't feel like I had to stick to one plan because I dedicated so much money and time into one specific college. And so I felt like Harvard gave me the opportunity to, experience and try new classes and not feel like I'm wasting money and time. And although you're like kind of missing out on the social aspect, I guess, it's still, I don't regret it. I don't wish that I went to a four-year university straight away because, again, I'm still unsure about my major right now. And knowing that I still have that room to like, switch if I need to it's really nice.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like I definitely do recommend.
And I don't think many people realize, so we have wonderful graduates that go all over the country and even some international schools, but the one school we have about 19 to 21% of every graduating class actually starts out at Harvard. So we probably send more students, more incoming freshmen to Harvard than any other school nationally or globally. So I think it's a wonderful place to start as well. So again, as I started before, everybody has different pathways as well. So some other questions about, can you address, what do you feel was the hardest transition from high school to college, and how do you feel you could make that transition smoother? I'd like to address that. Me and P? P as in the Creole.
I definitely noticed that, I didn't really have to study for tests during high school. You do the homework and you go to class and you learn the information well enough that maybe you refresh before the test, but you do well enough to pass the class. And in college, like we talked about before, you're in class much less throughout the week, and it's on you to make a schedule for yourself and to study. So that was definitely a learning curve. I would encourage you to go to SI, which is Supplemental Instruction. And some
Is that like academic support like we have here? That's like tutoring support?
Kind of. Some classes have it and some don't, but it's specific to the class and it's just extra help usually taught by a grad student or a TA. And it's just helpful, dedicated time outside of class to meet with the same people that are in your class to go over the information.
Annie?
I would say that the hardest thing was probably just like being alone because I was the only person in my graduating class that went to Syracuse, and there wasn't really, I think there was maybe 3 other people that went to Barrington that go to Syracuse now, so we're kind of like in our own boat. So I went and I didn't know anybody. Like I just like had to start everything from scratch because like a lot of people go to schools and you at least have like plan Bs or like support nets. Like if you can't find anybody, like you have people from home to be with. But that like wasn't an option. So it was either like make friends or just like be alone all the time, which I don't think anyone wants to be alone all the time. Like that sounds not great. But I would say that like a way that helped me ease the transition was just like joining things at my school I auditioned for acapella, which is like something, I did choir in high school, but I didn't do acapella, but this was like my little piece of choir that I brought to school with me, and then I ended up making like some of my closest friends from this semester from that, and then I'm doing recruitment next semester to be in a sorority, which also is something that helps ease the transition a little bit.
Maybe.
I think my biggest transition was going so far away, and with that came a big culture shock. I mean, it's only like just the coast, but I think for me it was a complete change of pace, especially because a large majority of the students at the school that I go to are from in-state. So you really, like Annie said, have no familiar faces. I believe there's only one other person in our graduating class that goes there, and I don't really keep in touch with her. So it's been, again, the same experience, like thrown into a whole new environment, and it's really difficult to adapt, especially because you have so many other things to focus on. I went through recruitment right before classes started, and it was kind of a saving grace for me because I met some people who, if I was really feeling lonely, like I was obligated to see them, but through that I made friendships and I met people that I wouldn't have met otherwise, so I'm really thankful for that experience. But I didn't really join any other extracurriculars. Not really, that wasn't something I did by choice, but definitely seek those out.
So, Peyton?
So one thing that Barrington does not prepare their students for are bad teachers.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, good job, BHS. But seriously, a lot of teachers when you go to college are phenomenal. They're very easy to talk to, but some of them are a bit harder, like a lot harder. And sometimes they'll randomly change their schedules just so they don't really have to do anything. And now with a lot of schools being online, it's even tougher. I'd say that the best way to counteract that is you're actually the one choosing your classes a lot of the time. So that means sometimes you get to choose your teachers and just try to get up to speed on it. Talk to a friend that you made at school. If you're in a fraternity or sorority or plan to go into it, talk to them. You're going to find somebody with a similar major. They might know what's up. Or as a last resort, look at Rate My Teacher. They're usually on there, and usually you'll find a good score.
Awesome. Speaking of that, and you can help me segue, with your professors and your teachers, are they approachable? Are they easy to get a hold of? Do they provide help? Anybody want to address that with your professors? Alyssa?
So I went to, Bradley is on the smaller scale. There's about 5,000 to 6,000 students there. And then also with my major being secondary education, being specialized, our program, like there were 5 other math high school ed majors that graduated with me. So when you get sort of specialized in that education sense, you learn who your classmates are, and you're going to have a lot of the same classes together. So going through that program and trying to figure out, which professors are where, and I'm trying to remember the question, and I'm kind of...
No, how the support your professors can give you, are they approachable?
Oh, yes. Okay. I also studied math. So it's not for everybody, and one thing that I would say is that my math study skills actually got better as I got, and I thought I had pretty good study skills, but my study skills got better as a senior than they were as a freshman. And I would say that the professors, for the most part, are really open to having you come in and ask for help. Office hours are a great thing. When you have those difficult professors, it can be really deterring not to go to their office hours, but I promise they do help. Mia mentioned SI. I was an SI leader. So outside of class 3 times during the week, I would just hold extra study sessions for the students in that math class, and that was for a Cal 2 math class. So there's resources there. The professors do want to help, and you know, typically if you're taking, you know, those series of sequences of classes, like if you have to take, you know, so many biology classes and, you know, you have to take so many math classes, talking to other students, even in your first class that you're in, you'll kind of figure, you'll definitely get to know people that way, and to just from the grapevine, you'll get to know which professors you might like more so than others. And each professor is different, but I think that, first of all, being in a smaller school setting, I had an advantage because my math classes got to be only like 20 people big. So my professors knew my name, they knew when we were doing our homework. I even studied directly with a professor for a semester. So it has its advantages if you get to know your professors, and if you take you take advantage of those opportunities like office hours, MSI, and if you have a TA.
And the Mia P.
Yeah, I mean, especially going in as a freshman, and if you go to a school that's far away, it's really hit or miss. You can't, like, you don't have people to ask their opinions on professors before you sign up for a class. So either way, I would encourage you to be self-sufficient. I found it difficult to learn subjects like trigonometry and biology in a room of 300 students from one teacher. So I would encourage you to try and form study groups and go to the study sessions, and that helps a lot.
Eve?
I would say I also go to school of 6,000 students, so I think I have a unique experience where the professors are really accessible, but at my school, all the professors are required to have office hours, and if you don't know what that is, the professor will have like 2 to 5 hours a week that are posted on the syllabus where the office is located and when you can drop in, and you can go there to ask for guidance or help with the class. So I definitely recommend going to office hours, especially if you're in a lecture-based class and there's not really an opportunity to ask for help in class. And I know for my classes specifically, I have to do a lot of writing, so it's really helpful if you can go and run some ideas by the professor, have them look over your thesis and things like that. And I found that at my school, all the professors are really flexible, so if you can't make office hours, they're willing to meet with you at a different time in their office or go on Zoom, or some of them even give you their personal phone number. They're like, call me while I'm driving to class so I can try and help. So I would definitely recommend that, and I think it's sometimes easier to approach the professor when they're like alone at the desk in their office rather than like in front of 20 students, so I would definitely recommend going to that.
Sophie?
I think that it's important to build relationships with the professors because they can be there to write letters of recommendation down the line. And I have some professors that my academic advisor specifically, she's unique to my major, so a lot of schools do it that way where you get assigned to a professor that is in your major and they can help you choose classes. If you have any problems with other professors or anything like that, you can go to them. And like if you build up a relationship with her, she sends out emails of firms and companies that she has sent former students to that are looking for applicants for jobs. So I think that's super important because professors in general are really connected, especially if they're within your major in the world that you want to get into. So they can definitely be a big help in that area.
Awesome. I'm going to go down the line on this one. Step back to fall of your senior year when you were applying to college, and just down the line, if you remember, how many colleges did you apply to? So starting with Molly, going down the line, do you recall approximately how many colleges you applied to?
I applied to 4.
Annie?
I think I applied to like 8.
Christina?
I actually did not apply to any colleges. I knew I was going to Harvard.
Cool. Mia?
I applied to 13 schools.
Molly, Mia?
Maybe 5.
Alyssa?
I think I had 9.
Peyton?
3.
Louise?
2.
Sophie?
I think I was around 18.
15.
There you go. So broad range. Mr. Average 6 to 8. So average high school student at Barrington applies to 6 to 8 colleges. Louise, you had mentioned scholarships, so if you could address how you found out, and then any else who got a scholarship, how did that process evolve for you? So Louise, if you could start that scholarship question.
For me, I found that out through the research center. I think the deadline for submitting the application was closing pretty soon, and they were able to help me just get me the information so that I could submit my application. They submitted the application with the resume, and in my situation, the Barrington Women's Club, they were the ones that awarded me the grant for it. They did an exception for my case. They just liked what I wrote. They just thought it was very true, and they awarded the award. They were able to renew it, so that's how it happened.
So I think it will ask others to get a scholarship, but I think Louise's point about being you, being your authentic self, is so important because that's what colleges want to see. They want to see who you are authentically. Anybody else want to address scholarships at all? Mia B?
Well, I applied through the UC system, and I think something that's really cool about submitting that application is that it automatically applies to you for all the scholarships that you're eligible for. So towards the end of the application, they have a big list of things. Some of them are background related, some of them are career related, some of them are goal oriented. There's all sorts of different qualifications that you might not even know that you were eligible for. So basically you just check off boxes on that list, and when you send in that application, the schools that you had applied to will automatically consider you for all of the scholarships. And they're blind to, I mean, obviously there's some for financial need, but some of them are blind to that. So even if on paper you might not look like you need a scholarship, if you still qualify for one, they'll still give it to you, which I found really nice, and I did qualify for some of them. So.
Awesome. Peyton?
So for Western, they had a personal scholarship based on your high school ACT and GPA, and that actually reflected what scholarship they gave you and how much it would be. And I also got a community scholarship from the JCs.
Eve?
I was going to say, I think this is common at a lot of schools, but at my school, when you submit your application, they automatically consider you for financial aid and merit money. And when you get your acceptance letter, it shows that number in the letter. So it's nice to know earlier on like how much money you can expect before or while you're applying for other scholarships.
Absolutely. And a lot of state schools will actually do what you've said. You can look on their websites, and they'll show like out-of-state scholarships, what that criteria is for GPA, test scores and things like that. What Louise was talking about was our local scholarships. There are several local scholarships that are just given to Barrington students, and that application is available February 1st of senior year. So Louise got one of those local scholarships. Regarding testing, because if you can give your, having not now in that testing phase of ACT and SAT and knowing how that can be so stressful for students, your perspective then and your perspective now on testing and prepping for that. Molly?
So I'm definitely a student who strongly dislikes standardized testing like that, just because I don't think personally it's a good reflection of like the kind of student I am. And I was really scared like applying to college, so like if I didn't do well, that I was like not going to get to go where I wanted. Luckily, it partly due to COVID, I think a lot of schools took away the testing requirement of you returning your score, which like was definitely a big weight taken off of my chest, so I actually didn't have to turn my scores into any of the schools I applied to. But now, like being in college, nobody cares about like the ACT. Everyone was probably a little traumatized by the whole experience, so everyone just kind of like throws it away and is like, I don't want to talk about it. And it's like, it's kind of just something that's super big in high school. Once you go to college, it's your business. No one's probably going to bring it up because it's like not really like relevant anymore because now you're on to like higher education.
Maybe.
So standardized testing was something that wasn't particularly difficult for me, but it was always just very stress-inducing because there was such a pressure to do well. And especially because I was looking at a lot of schools that would be reach schools. There was a lot of pressure on me to do really well on my standardized testing, so I did seek out opportunities to practice and study outside of just what I did at school, and I think that that was definitely worth my time and sort of what made or broke my college experience, despite the fact that during our application year, a lot of schools went test optional. I do think that for those people, is it test optional?
For a lot of schools, it's still test optional.
Okay. I'd say that even if you're on the fence about whether or not to submit your score, you should at the very least take one just to see how you do, because you might do better than you expect. And it can never hurt. A lot of times it's a good benchmark that schools use. And it can never hurt, because if you have good grades, but your standardized testing scores didn't really match up with that, then we'll know, okay, maybe this person's not a great test taker. But I think it's kind of important, at least it was for me, to just kind of figure out where I laid, and then ultimately was something that I could add to my application.
Awesome, thank you. One question I'm going to answer is from a parent standpoint, from my own experience with my children. The question is, are getting C's in sophomore year in high school going to ruin your chances of getting into college? Two answers to that. One, it depends on the college. So there's thousands of colleges nationally. If you want to go to college, you will absolutely find a place to go. C's are not going to keep you out of college. My youngest daughter had C's in high school, some C's. Is a civil engineer. She went to a Big Ten school, got a partial scholarship at that school, is 28 years old, and lives in Virginia, and bought her first home this year. So having C's in high school was not an abyss. She is highly successful, lots of options out there, so you just want to do the best you can and not put that kind of pressure on yourself that it has to be perfection. And one more question, and then we're going to go to the final question for you guys. How frequently do you come home when you're at school, and how is the transition from the freedom you have at school going back to house rules at home? Annie?
Since I have to take a plane home, I only get to go home for like spring break, winter break, and then summer break. But most of my friends live in like the tri-state area, like New York or New Jersey, or Connecticut, but they go home pretty frequently, I would say, at least 3 or 4 times in between each respective break that we have. But I know that at a lot of other schools, students don't do that. It just depends how many people come from the area that your school is in, I would say.
So winter break is the first time I've come home this semester, and it's been nice to be home. I'm lucky that I have 2 older brothers, so my parents have learned how the transition from coming home to college works. But yeah, it definitely depends on how far away you go, because being at the University of Wyoming, the large majority of the student population is either from Wyoming or Colorado, so most of my friends have the ability to drive home on the weekends, and lots of them do that. So it just depends how far away you are.
Alyssa?
Being in Peoria, it's only like a 3-hour drive. So I came home a few times throughout the semester, and like I would say maybe 3, like the standard breaks, and then if I wanted to come home on a weekend, I was close enough that I could do that. There's a bus that runs from Peoria all the way to Woodfield, so that is a really great option for students to use if they need to come home for Thanksgiving, if they need to come home even for winter break. That was a really great option. And yeah, it just depends. I had friends that lived about an hour away from campus, and they would go home more frequently. I think I had a friend that went home almost every weekend. She just didn't like spending the weekends at school. So she was home very frequently, where, I mean, at Bradley, most of our students are from, you know, the Chicagoland area or, you know, outside of Peoria, like a good radius. St. Louis is a big one, but there were students like from California, there were students from Arizona, so it really just depends. And I actually came home, I think, 4 times within a month, just job searching here in the spring. I came up like 3 times in 3 weeks for interviews, so that was kind of a unique case. But I, again, had the ability to do so, kind of could make it work just because I wasn't too far away.
Anyone else want to ask that question? Molly?
I go to school about like a 6-hour drive away, and I last semester did not come home at all besides Thanksgiving and now winter break. And at least in my case, like I kind of like being independent, so I was never like craving to go home. But now like coming home, it's a little different because when you come home, like for winter break, I don't have school, so it was definitely, it's like hard. It's harder and easier because you come home and you can just like get to enjoy your family and like seeing your pets and your siblings and stuff like that. But I would definitely say now it's like kind of become really itching to go back because I love having a twin, but sometimes you like having your own like space and your own time, you have to like structure yourself, but it's definitely also nice to like have both.
And as a parent, I think a lot of students from Barrington will go to colleges within a 300-mile radius. We have Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Indiana, Michigan, and so my one daughter, which I think was called the Wolverine Line, would take that back to Union Station, get on at Ogilvy, come to Barrington, so that was pretty easy for me. So you mentioned some Amtraks and things like that. Mia?
So yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Annie. I go to school far away and I do have to take a plane to get home. And I came home for Thanksgiving and Christmas, thankfully. But I know that a lot of other people who are out of state at my school don't have that opportunity because of financial reasons or whatever. But I definitely experienced a lot of homesickness my first quarter, and so I think that I'm also the oldest child, so my parents weren't used to that transition either, and I think it was hard on both sides of that deal. But I've been super thankful for the time that I've been able to spend at home, and then my break was extended because of COVID, so I think that I'm kind of not itching to go back, and I would like to stay here and spend more time with my family, but I know I'm definitely in a difficult phase in that sense.
So one final question, information, actually it's a piece of advice. So piece of advice either for more success in high school and or paving the way for their choice in college. What piece of advice would you provide for these students? So we'll start with Eve and then go around.
I would say the best advice that I could give you is to just, you have to choose to be happy with your options. So you might not get into the school you've always wanted to go to, or you might choose to go to Harper College and that's not what you wanted originally. But I think that you can be happy wherever you are as long as you choose to be happy and you don't dwell on the opportunities you do have. And you just try to be present with the people that are there because there's great people at all the schools we're at and all other schools out there. So just try to really invest yourself in the place you are and the people you're with and not dwell on the things that you need to do.
Awesome. Sophie?
I would say to focus on the fact that you're never going to find the perfect college, and you don't need to have that event to hear your opinion to have a good experience. I think nowhere is perfect, and if you end up transferring or whatever, there's always going to be positives and negatives about the place that you go. So similar to what my sister said, really it's about like you investing in your education and making good friends, and those people are, you can find those people everywhere. So like she said, like choose to be happy and be really content with the opportunities that you do have.
Louise?
I would say to don't be afraid to ask questions. Anything you can think of, just look for the answer. There's a lot of people that are happy to help you. Whatever it is, you want to graduate early, you want to take AP classes, you want to know about scholarships, college, anything you can think of. Don't just assume there's one answer fits all, because you'll be surprised and a lot of doors are going to be open for you.
Amazing. Awesome. Peyton?
Try to find a good balance between having fun and actually studying. college without any fun is depressing and
That's right.
right. So college without fun is depressing, and college without studying is failure. So just try to get a good balance, and you'll learn pretty quickly where that balance is as you continue on, and I promise you, you'll have time for both, and just try to keep good balance with everything, all right?
Great advice. Alyssa?
Going back as you start, end of sophomore, start of junior, even senior year, I would say to do your research. We talked about Naviance earlier. That's a great tool that the high school has. I would even encourage you to explore the website of the schools that you're looking at. You can find a lot about the schools just by looking at their website. I think I viewed virtual tours of campuses multiple times over. Even reading about your major, looking at what kinds of classes you would take if you were to go into that school for that specific major or even that specific program. You can find a lot of information about the schools and their individual, unique aspects just by looking on their website. I would also say too, if you're kind of floating around with size, I would say to look at different size schools. And I think, I was able to look at between, what Bradley was 5,000 to 6,000. I saw Marquette, that was, 10,000. And then I visited Madison, that was way too big, 45 minutes to get across campus. I just was not for me. So if you're still floating with size, I would, do your research with that too. I would get a feel for what kind of person you are, how many people you want to be surrounded with. And then the last thing I would say too is just to start talking with your parents early on about, what life after high school is going to look like, whether that's Harper, whether that's a four-year school, whether that's a trade. There's so many different options that you can take, and I think starting that conversation too early is never a bad thing.
I would say reaching out to people going to your school before you get there helped me a lot. You mentioned they do kind of feel like dating apps, and that's a little weird, but having someone down the hall that you can say, oh, I've seen your profile, or oh, we texted this summer, is very helpful and makes it easier to get comfortable faster.
So I sort of have two things, one of which is don't let societal or peer pressure get to you when you're deciding where you go to college. Just because you get into a really great school, it might not be the best fit for you, and I'm a really good example of that. Just don't let the flashiness of anything or how good it is ranked on a college list kind of like sway you. Because at the end of the day, it might not be where you're going to be happy, and it's just at the end of the day, sometimes you have to make the best of your experience, and it's true that no college is perfect, but make sure at the end of the day you're making the choice that's best for you, not the choice that you feel like you should make. And then secondly, don't wish time away. I think that was something that I really did in high school because I wanted to be on my own and I wanted to just be done with high school and go to college, but I didn't appreciate high school for what it was, and I think that it's a really cool time in your life, and although college is also super cool, just be happy that you are where you are and look forward to it.
Christina?
My best piece of advice is to take your time. There really is no rush at the end of the day. It's like, yes, you have all these resources and people you can talk to, and it's super helpful, but if you don't know what you want to do, or you feel lost, like that's totally okay. There is no rush. You have so much time to make a decision, to change your mind. And I feel like a lot, especially when you're in high school, you feel like I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to know where I want to go or what I want to do. But at the end of the day, like you just need to take a step back and figure out what's right for you, and that there's really no rush. You can always change your mind.
Annie?
My mom would always say there's 3 C's in acceptance, and while I'm like not telling you to go out and like get C's on purpose, I think it's important to not put too much pressure on yourself to like do really well. Like it's important to do well, but like working yourself to the brim honestly sounds like my eternity, and like you should just like be happy and like have fun, especially if you're a senior. Like it's important to do well, like do your work, get good grades, but like there's no point sitting in your room like studying all the time when you could be like spending this time with friends that you won't be able to really see next year. So just like don't work yourself too hard, but still do well. Like it's a balance. It's a balance.
Exactly. Molly?
I would say my biggest piece of advice is that like it gets easier. I think especially with COVID, at least for like my senior year and junior year, it took a lot away, which when the senior year kind of came to an end was like really like upsetting for me, and I just felt like I missed out on a lot. So like graduating and having to move on was something that made me really sad, and I was sad to like leave my friends. And going to college, luckily I've had like a good transition experience, but I remember I was so confused on where do I sign up for classes? What are credit hours? Where do I go get food? Am I gonna have any friends? And like, in the beginning, it's definitely a little scary, but as time goes on, it will come naturally. Everyone's in the same boat. Just like be yourself and put yourself out there, because that's the best part about going to college is it's a fresh start, so you can really be who you want to be and kind of let go of maybe what was holding you back in high school and just like really get to be yourself. So it will get easier as the semester goes on, and you'll find your place.
Wonderful advice. And again, from a counseling standpoint, I know our college counselors would reiterate too, authentically determine what is important to you, because everybody's college choice is different. You are unique, you're special, you have your own gifts and talents and goals, and those are unique to you. And so look into your heart, your mind, talk to people to determine what's best for you. So I want to give a huge thank you. They are amazing to you guys. You always give the best advice. A huge applause. Thank you so much, you guys. You're amazing. Your advice is invaluable. So hopefully everybody who's here was very helpful, and those who watch the video are going to gain from your wisdom, your maturity, your kindness, and your amazing insights and good choices. So thank you so much. So we'll be safe out there, and don't watch the ice. Thank you.
Like I did.